What are you doing?
Making the holes a little bigger.
Holes bigger? All right. This is what Esther does when I pull the camera out. She starts fixing herself.
I do not.
So George is actually working on a brake kit for Uncle Ray. He has a much larger rotor. Re-drill the rotor because the hubs, those hubs fit perfect, don't they?
Yeah, the hub is exactly the right size.
That way we know they're centered correctly. It's just a case of re-drilling. That's why she always looks good on camera, and I always look like I just walk up because I just pull the camera out and start talking. The hair's all sticking up, all goofy looking. So George's radiator should be delivered today. Shh, don't tell him. How much larger is that rotor to the other one?
1.4 inches.
1.4 inch doesn't seem that big until you put them together.
Yeah, they're huge.
That is massive. We need basically split that difference, so you got maybe 3 millimeters there. What he's going to do is, now this is bolted on, measure this distance and then divide it, take it off here. So this is basically bringing that back.
I did this on my Integra years ago, and it's on my Instagram still.
This is essentially the same setup?
Yep. I had all 8th gen brakes on that. Well, I had EP3 on the back and 8th gen in the front, and that's the same things on this.
It's one of those things, whenever you make more power, very important to do more brakes. Not just for daily driving, but if you ever get up in the mountains, something like that.
That's when I realized I needed it. It was one of the first mountain trips we did, and I had stock GSR brakes on my 200 horsepower 4-door Integra.
I was cooking. Hell yeah. I was like, what's John doing? Too bad behind Scott, and then we started getting that fast section by the scenic overlook.
By the time we went to that pull-off, I had a little smoke coming out of my brakes too.
Oh yeah, mine were blued over. They're the new Brembos.
Yeah. I'm helping Esther pack the store. We are slightly ahead on a car, so I'm building bleeder buckets. Bleeder buckets are going to be in the store by the time you see this video. Pictures of these hats. These are the Richardson hats. So I'm not a hat guy. So if you get a hat that has hair in it, this is the one that Esther's tried on.
Stop it.
People will like that. This is good in the store.
Do it
Ready?
now.
And there.
Really?
That went in the store. Ready? Ready? Wait while she moves. Wait while
Let's get
So
me
this
on a
is-
great face. That's what you like to do. You like to put those crazy faces on there.
I think they look cute.
Yeah.
All right. Don't tell
Okay.
HR that.
Okay.
Or don't tell my wife that either.
There you go.
Ready? And this is the picture. So there you go. There's the black hat. So if you have the size of a head like Esther, you're going to put it all the way on the second to tightest setting. It says adjustable. They don't have a size. I put in the store large to extra large. I'll put one on too and double check it. So you're putting the hair through the bend? Is that the technique right
Well,
here?
that's what girls like to do, right?
And it fits you tight?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's still plenty of room. This is the blue one.
Yeah, looks cool in blue.
Just
That's actually huge on me.
see? All right, and that's not
Look,
all
that's
the way.
on the... Look,
That looks good. Okay. That's 4. Just try that.
let's try that. Let's get an idea. Yeah, that fits me
That's
perfect
better,
right there.
yeah. That's actually mine because I wore mine to
Okay,
the,
so there you go.
Grand Prix. I might just have to have one of each color.
No, you don't. First person to buy a hat at the store, I'm going to give you this little S2000 seat, and it's like the CR color. Sits that way, or it sits that way. If you put it this way, the charger works. Look at that. This one certainly came a long way. Really, really nice S2000. New Formula Red. One of my favorite colors. As you've seen, we own one in this color. This is a resident of Canada and local to us. He's had a starter issue, which is pretty common on S2000s. If you ever hit that start button and you hear like a metallic sound that drags afterwards, it sounds different to the timing chain tensioners. Often the starter hangs up. And we've tried a few different remedies to fix this. We've tried having a local company rebuild them. We've taken the starters out and greased the moving parts to see if we can get that cog to move freely, and it never works. Even our local starter company that's pretty reputable, it seems like their starter lasts about 6 months and then it comes back and we've got to redo it, which sucks for everybody. So the only way we do this is to put a brand new Honda OEM starter in there. It's not always the miles, it's just sometimes the age. We get cars with 100,000 miles and the starter's fine, and this one has about 25,000 miles and the starter hangs up about 1 every 7 times of starting the car. Let me tell you how it works and what is actually happening. This is the new starter right here. So to explain exactly what happens here, this is the electric motor. This is what is spinning the shaft here, which there is a cog right here that engages the flywheel, which the flywheel is connected to the engine. That is spinning that gear and spinning the flywheel, which starts the engine. This portion is the solenoid. This essentially is a giant relay, but it is sending the power to this, and there should be a mechanism that shoots this cog out. You can kind of see the shaft right here. This cog will come to the end here, engage the flywheel. When you let off the button, it should shoot back. Now this looks like the smallest part of it, but this hangs up and we have issues with this, and we have issues with the solenoid, which is this unit right here. So we've had these replaced, we've had them rebuilt here. What also happens is after this drags on the flywheel, it damages that cog. It actually damages this edge. You see how it's got a machine finish on there, and it seems like once it starts dragging, it just continues to drag, and it doesn't really fix. Even after rebuild, like I mentioned, they come back 6 months later. So the only way to do it is to put a brand new Honda starter on there. It's just trouble free, it's done. You get 10 years of service, back to normal. When we take the starter out, we'll do a quick demonstration to show you how it works and what is actually happening, so you can see it. I'm not saying it's going to hang up on the vise, but it might do. But we can show you exactly what goes on.
So if you do decide to tackle your starter yourself, the first thing you're always going to want to do is disconnect that negative battery terminal, because you're going to be disconnecting a large power wire on the starter that will be live and unfused. So that's the starter. That's the location. It's under your intake manifold. And the other thing under your intake manifold that you really want to be careful of is your knock sensor. If you knock that, it will break. I don't care how gentle you are, it will break. Alright, so we're up here where the starter goes. That hole is where the starter goes. That wire right in front of you is the starter signal wire. So when you press your button in the car, it sends power to that, and that's what fires the starter. The little plug next to it, the green and purple, that's your knock sensor. So you see how close that is to the starter and that other wire. So that's something that you can very easily bump. So just you have to be extremely cautious of that, and everything will go well. But 2 bolts, power wire, that connector, and your starter comes out.
So your starter would usually be connected up to the ground. This would be the engine ground. This would be your battery terminal right here. So the small wire down here is your starter signal. That is what's sending power to operate the solenoid. And you should see this starter fire over. So we're going to do a quick demo so you can see this. So you see how that fires out there. Spins, you release the button, it kicks back. So your flywheel would be in line over here. And what happens is this cog gets hung up on the flywheel, and also it gets hung up on the shaft. It doesn't move very smoothly, and it seems like once they start to get bad, they just get worse and worse. Of course, now it's on the bench, this one works every time.
So install is the same as reverse. It's actually pretty hard to show, but like I said, it's 2 bolts, your main power wire, which is held up by a 12mm nut, and the 1 spade connector that goes to the starter signal. And then once you have all that hooked up, you can go back around to here, and we can put this guy back on, and we can check to see how trouble-free this starter is. Let's see what happens. Seems to work.
Any H22 Jackson Racing fans out there? You guys recognize these. This is the blower pulley right here, and these are the 2 little pulleys that are on the jack shaft. Well, these are notorious for having belt slipping issues. You can see how tiny that pulley is. That is unbelievable that it actually works. So if you're familiar with this, you know this. If you're not, think of that as being on the blower. Well, the little jack shaft is basically like this. It's a little bracket that these 2 attach together. One of these is powered by the crank. It drives the shaft, and then this drives the blower. This isn't as much of a deal for a slip-in because it's kind of a large pulley. Think of the amount of wrap the belt has around here for traction versus these right here. We've talked to a couple of people, but just this one fella came through. I'm not going to try and pronounce your name because I'll probably botch it up, but you know who you are. You just sent me these. So we're going to get these reproduced by GripTec. If you've seen our past videos, you know the finish that they put on these is just a game changer for traction. And we're going to offer a couple of different pulley options with this too. I'm going to measure this. It kind of looks like a 3.6 or a 3.4. This is a 3.4 right here by GripTec, and it looks pretty much about the same. In fact, it looks exactly the same. So we have these pulleys already. We just need to make the hub to use this on a H22. We'll offer this in a 3.4, and then from there we can offer different size. We'll go 3.2 even. I want to talk to him and see if we have any room at all to go larger on these, as long as the belt doesn't contact anything, because that will be a upgrade as well for a boost. If you think of this being slightly larger, it'll spin this faster too, plus get more belt traction. Keep an eye on this. I'll keep you updated, but I won't say your first name, but Mr. Gribble, you're going to get cost on the first set because you were the one that sent. Everybody else kept saying they were sending it and they never did, which I understand, things happen, but we're going to offer these in the store for you, H22 Jackson Racing guys. Another S2000 in here to get retainers and keepers. It's an AP1. We'll look over these. We've shown you in the past AP1 retainers are notorious for cracking because they're very, very thin. These feel thin. Just this lip here, if you feel the difference between AP1 and AP2, this edge is almost razor sharp, where the AP2 almost is rounded. You can see it's definitely thicker. And these are notorious for getting kind of concaved, and that's when you know they're getting ready to go. I can't really tell. Also, while this is a part, he wants to do valve stem seals, which are below here, which can be a lot of fun. Fun meaning they can be a real pain in the butt. Some of them come off easier than others. Once we take one spring off, we'll show you what they look like. That's what the valve stem seals look like. These are the ones that came off the car. They look like aftermarket. You see the factory ones are a different color. So to distinguish between intake and exhaust, if you've never seen it before, the spring there on the exhaust is black. On the intake it's silver. Think of the black spring like soot coming out the exhaust port. That's how I've always helped remember in case they get mixed up. So that's cylinder number 1 done. Sometimes this is just peace of mind. If you don't see it an issue, it's just kind of a peace of mind knowing that the AP2s will quite happily rev to 9 grand, and we've never seen one have an issue yet. You can see there, that's the first ones that are done. They're more of a bright silver. You can't really tell by the sides, but they are a little bit thicker. Anyway, we'll carry on with this one. We'll see you on the next video. Don't forget, enjoy your cars.